Well, it was a dark and stormy night, Dustin, where we gathered for this iteration of the HooperCast.
There too?
What?
There too?
Oh yeah, it's messing. Can you hear much of feedback in my microphone?
No,
not at all. There's so much static in my ears right now. It's
really
it's nuts, and I think it's the rain. I think the rain's screwing with me.
Yep, I just hear my rain out the window.
Hi, and welcome to the HooperCast Movie Hour, everybody. We are gathered tonight, at this point in time, to talk about some stuff. So we decided to get cultured this week, talking about these popcorn movies and Marvel and this and that. And so decided to talk about some classic films, classic Japanese cinema. And we started, well, we got Yojimbo up first.
Yeah.
とてもうまく料理されてたな。あんないい腕を持ったやつはこの近くにはお前しかいねえ。それで？もしかするとあの6人叩き殺したのはおめえじゃねえかと思ってね。
刀かピストルか宿命の対決。
That's a little bit from the trailer for Yojimbo. This is directed by Akira Kurosawa. Was released in 1961, I believe.
Yeah.
And it is currently streaming on HBO Max as part of their Criterion. I was going to say collection, but it's called the Criterion Collection. It's part of their Criterion collection of Criterions.
I think they're calling them hubs.
Hubs? Okay. Yeah. Hubs. This is my hubs.
My hubs.
My hubs. All right. So you saw Yojimbo. I did not, Dustin.
Yes, I did.
All right. What do you think of this film?
I enjoyed Yojimbo. It took a little bit to get into it. So I have not seen a ton of Akira Kurosawa, but of course, Seven Samurai is one of the best movies ever made, probably. Yep. So I was very eager to eventually get around to seeing more of his work. So I saw Ikiru, and then this, and the movie we're going to talk about next. But yeah, so in terms of movies, this was good. Like I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'm trying to find my star rating here. Yeah, so I gave it 4 stars. It's not perfect, and it does take a little bit to get into, and I could see how some with more modern sensibilities might have issues with this, with the pacing, with the storytelling. And of course, if you're not a native I almost said a naked Japanese speaker. That's something very different.
They show these in
Japanese, but only when I'm naked.
The bathhouses in Tokyo, they're showing Yojimbo.
Yes.
Hey, you're naked. You'll like this.
Yes. If you're not a native Japanese speaker, of course, there's a little bit of a curve to it as well anyway.
Sure.
So the story goes, Yojimbo is actually, I guess, roughly translated to the bodyguard. And it stars Toshiro Mifune, of course.
Was this the first of it? No, sorry, this was not.
It's not the first. I think he made like 13 movies.
16, I think it was.
16? Good Lord.
Yeah, I'll find out. Go ahead.
A ton of fact check us on that. And so he plays a Ronin with no name, who enters a small village in Japan. It's during like feudal Japan era, and there are 2 rival gangs that have taken over this town, and he sees an opportunity to kind of pit the 2 against each other, make a little bit of money, and then maybe eventually he'll clean up the town. But it's not like he's this perfect, samurai who's like, I'm just going to rid the town of evil and that'll be my payment. He's more like, if I can make some money, I'm going to make some money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what's interesting to me about this, and you may have picked up on this even from just my retelling, is it's very, very much in the shape of an American Western. Like, American Westerns must have picked up on what Akira Kurosawa was doing with the samurai flicks. And they kind of had this symbiotic relationship where they were both evolving sort of together. Obviously the Seven Samurai was later adapted as the Magnificent Seven, and it's been
great film.
Adapted and readapted. These two genres are very similar, and I think that's why I like them so much. I like a good Western, and I like a good samurai flick. And that's one of the reasons why we've liked The Mandalorian as much as we have.
Yep.
Is it's very much in this style. So I really enjoyed this. Obviously, this samurai with no name seems to be probably inspired a little bit of the Man with No Name trilogy that Clint Eastwood did. I don't know, man. Like I enjoyed it quite a bit. I will say with this one, when I saw this, the only three Kurosawa films I'd seen, Seven Samurai, Rashomon, and Akira. And this was probably the least accessible. To me, it took the longest to get into it, to kind of understand what was happening and be bought into it. And maybe that's because I went in with some preconceived notions that like, this is going to be like an honor-bound samurai who's out to clean up the town. And he wasn't quite that. And so I was confused, like, wait, why is he trying to make money? Like, and so that was my own like sort of stereotype coming into the movie, like, oh, this must be a noble warrior, but he's not really. And so yeah, I would say this is probably the least accessible, but that may have just been my personal bias. But look, I still gave it 4 stars. You can't fault the way this film was made, and the last act is fantastic. So if you can hang on for 2 acts, you will get something out of the last one, even if you don't of the first 2. So 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I would watch it again. This continues the powerhouse that is Akira Kurosawa and Toshiro Mifune.
This film was unofficially remade by Sergio Leone as Fistful of Dollars, and they were sued over it.
Yes.
And they had to settle out of court because it was pretty directly, there's plot elements and shots and characters. It's, it was worth it probably. But
and so I've never seen A Fistful of Dollars, but I've seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, obviously.
Yeah.
And so, it's very much in the vein of that like Blondie character that Clint Eastwood plays, that just kind of has become a staple of Westerns.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if you're into Westerns, I think you'd get something out of this for sure.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of the Dollars trilogy. It's a blind spot of mine, as well as Akira Kurosawa. So we're into this area of movies that I just don't know anything about.
I would recommend The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's very accessible. It's a long movie.
Yeah.
But it's a good movie.
All right.
It's a great movie.
So you said this was 4 stars?
Yeah, 4 stars.
All right. Let's move on into the next film then, since we're talking about Kurosawa. We got another one here. We also have, this was released 3 years prior, 1958. We have The Hidden Fortress.
日本映画最高の巨匠を投じて世紀の巨匠黒澤明がワイド画面いっぱいに描く勇壮豪快な戦国の大スペクタクル巨編冒険と活劇スリルとサスペンスにあふれる波乱万丈の物語隠し撮りでの差が隠し撮りでの差が
So that's a little bit there from the trailer for The Hidden Fortress. This is also directed by Akira Kurosawa, as mentioned before. Also on HBO Max as part of the Criterion Collection. We both checked this one out, and what you saw and heard in the trailer was what was a very impressive scale for a film, especially at this time. I think this film, and I think according to the information in the trailer, it took 5 years to film.
Wow. And
it's a very impressive production. I'm going to say, Dustin, I didn't finish this movie. This is what I did not tell you beforehand.
Yeah.
That's why I said we both watched, we clicked play at the beginning of this film.
Well, how far did you get?
I got about an hour in.
Okay.
This is a 2 hour and 18, I believe, minute film. It's long, and for me, I got to a point where I just didn't. It didn't matter to me what happened. I was like, okay, well, I tried to watch this over 2 nights and I can't do it, so I had to wave the white flag and tap out.
Sure.
But this film is another classic from Kurosawa that is sort of welded its way into pop culture, whether people realize it or not. This film very heavily influenced George Lucas in the making of Star Wars. It is about a couple of peasants I'm not sure what year it is in Japan, but they're in the middle of like this civil war, and they come across a guy, has them guide him, and this woman that they don't realize is a princess who is being sought after for a bounty during this civil war. And so the Toshiro Mifune is playing this samurai general who is going to pay them some gold, promises them some gold if they help move everyone to this place they're going to.
I want the gold. Give me the gold.
They want the gold. Then they know where the gold's at, but he very easily is like, I'm not giving you any gold. And they're like, yes, sir. And it's very much influenced his decision, George Lucas's decision to have Star Wars open with 2 unimportant characters, the droids, running into, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we're gonna go to Princess Leia, and we're gonna rescue the princess, and oh, you're a princess, So this is one of those things where you get into it, and it might be a little bit of the John Carter syndrome for me, where it's like I'm so familiar with this subject that I feel like uninterested by it.
Sure.
And it's also, again, it's just a film that was made 60 years ago. It's probably just the pace. It's just the pace and the unfortunate/fortunate familiarity with what's going on with it that made me sort of disengage. But that is just me. How about you, Dustin? Because you told me you liked this more than Yojimbo.
Yes, I like it. I like it more than Yojimbo, and I think it is more accessible. So I would say this: if you had a hard time with Hidden Fortress, you're probably gonna have a harder time with Yojimbo. That's just my take on it. I did. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But I liked this. I still gave this 4 stars. I wouldn't go to 5. Seven Samurai is 5, but this is 4.
Yeah.
And so, you kind of hit all the bullet points. Like, this is so heavily Star Wars, from the opening. Like, I knew the reason I wanted to watch this was because it was something that had influenced pop culture in such a huge way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just kind of have to see it. And from the opening scene, you've got the 2 characters, and immediately I'm like, oh, that's R2 and C-3PO. Like, immediately. And so just like the way that they are kind of bumbling through this bigger story is very reminiscent of what George did with all the Star Wars films, the first 6. I think ultimately you're right. There's a little bit of the John Carter syndrome in it. Like, I've seen a lot of this before, but I haven't necessarily seen it presented this way in this setting. And I also haven't seen it, like, one of the reasons why I unapologetically love John Carter is because I can put my brain in the mindset of, like, what would it have been like if I had seen this years ago or read this story years ago, before Star Wars, before all of the derivatives. And I can say, like, there's merit to this. And so The Hidden Fortress is the same way to me. I can put myself back in 1958 and say, there's something special here, so much so that it has inspired an entire generation of filmmakers to make something great out of. Let me rephrase that, because you guys know I'm kind of a Star Wars hater sometimes. It's something that once was great, and now has been muddled down. But yeah, I really enjoyed the comedic elements of this. I felt like it was funny. I felt like it was adventurous. It's different for Toshiro Mifune because normally he plays like this hardened, like samurai type character, and he's not that here, but
More
he's
of a
also
veneer.
Yeah, he's also funny. Like, he's very Han Solo here. Like, again, I hate to keep comparing it, but it's true. Sure. He is kind of this scoundrel who, he's embittered and whatever else, but he's also playing it up, and he's not afraid to like laugh at people, like at the R2 and C3PO type characters. He's laughing at them, and simultaneously like annoyed by them. And so you get like, he's not just this stoic, tough guy like he has played before. Instead, he's going to be just like a person. And so yeah, like I enjoyed the comedy of it. I enjoyed the adventure of it. It has this thing where a lot of older films, and especially those that are a little bit longer in length, kind of suffer, or we would say maybe they suffer from this. I don't know that it's really suffering, but we might say that they're suffering from this feeling of like padding the runtime with like, now we're going to go here and see these people, and now we're going to go here and see these people and get into this predicament. But like that, even though that storytelling trope has largely been moved to television, it still exists. I mean, it reminded me of something like the Pirates of the Caribbean, where you have like, this is sort of similar in that you have, the two characters from the first Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. I can't remember their names. The guy that played Dwight's character on
the Pintel and Rigetti.
Okay, Pintel and
actors.
Rigetti.
Actually, I memorized the actors' names. Believe it or not, their names are Mackenzie Crook and Lee Ehrenberg.
Okay, got it. So
you're welcome,
I just know
gentlemen, because I think I'm the only person on earth who can do that at a whim.
I could have come up with Mackenzie Crook just because I love The Office,
right? But
the other guy is just like, that guy that parked where George Costanza was trying to park in that one episode of Seinfeld, like that. But it's there too. Like, it's those two characters. It's just, imagine if they were the kind of the protagonists, or like the characters that we
they're really very much like on them, actually.
It's very similar, and
semi-cowardly, self-interested.
Exactly. And Pirates is structured in a similar way, where you have, we're going to go here and see these pirates, and we're going to go here and see these weird characters, and go here and see this place, and it's like these vignettes of place and character, and these wacky settings and hijinks that they get into, and so it Pirates is not dissimilar from this, but obviously, I mean, Star Wars is the big one. It's, hey, we've got to go to Cloud City now. Hey, we got to go over here now. Hey, we got to go to Endor. Hey, we got to go here, and it's like that sort of thing. And granted, that's over the course of a trilogy, but like the structure still exists. And then like Pirates 3 is like overload, where it's like, gotta go here, do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like nonsense. But there's at least a germ, I think, of that type of structure here. Yeah. And then especially focusing the story on characters that we might otherwise overlook is a very smart move, because Toshiro Mifune could have been the protagonist here. But they kind of let it be these two unassuming dudes that we get to experience it through, because I'm not saying that we relate to them, because like they're not like avatars for the audience necessarily, but it's also almost like Shakespearean in a way. It's like, we're going to be told this larger story from the point of view of these smaller characters. And so I can imagine this on the stage. Yeah. And
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so
The Lion King 1.5.
The Lion King 1.5. Yeah, exactly. I think it's just the germ of where so much came from. Yeah. We have such a wealth of story structure and character ideas that pulled, again, I'm not sure, I'm not a film historian to the extent that I could say this is where things started, but certainly if this popularized it enough for George Lucas to grab hold of it, it's probably a pretty good starting point to say, like, this is this was notable.
Yeah.
And we're still feeling the ripple effects from it today. So I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend finishing it. But there again, no harm, no foul if you don't. And I may not mention it on this podcast, but there is a movie that I started and could not finish for the life of me recently. So I'll just tease you with that.
Ooh, I am teased. Yeah. I'm very teased.
Yeah.
All right.
Because that's very rare. Usually I can stick it out. I've got an hour left to go in this. Maybe I can power through, but
I very recently just made the decision, like, I'm not doing that anymore. If I'm an hour in, or if I'm past, if I'm into the second act and I don't care, I don't care who's the director, I'm stopping.
I'm past the halfway mark in this film, and I'm in this film that I'm talking about now. And it's Lord of mercy, it's a slog. But I know people love it, so I'm like, man, is it just that I need to get to the end of this? Or like, there's a part of me that's like, I've sunk too much time into this garbage, I got to finish it. But why? Yeah.
No, I don't do that anymore. I've got too much stuff that I could be watching, other than finishing the second hour of a movie I don't enjoy. So
yeah, for sure.
Can't do it. All right. Let's take a break. Come back, talk about one more movie, and then we're out of here.
Yes, sir.
Woo. Normally, this is the part where I talk about what's new on streaming, but the article I normally load from TV Guide isn't up yet. It's too early in the month, I guess. So I didn't want to look that hard into individual lists on Netflix and Amazon. So there's plenty of cool stuff. There's, if you want to watch something interesting, I suppose, there's a couple of, I don't know, YouTube videos I was checking out recently about 32-hour work week. I got turned on to that concept. It's been a concept that's out there for a while, but for some reason I decided to look up videos on it just to figure out, like, why do we work a 40-hour 5-day work week. So there's some cool stuff out there. I can't tell you. Man, one of them's by The Atlantic. I know it's about this company in Portland, and then there's another one, but for 20 minutes, that's more of a deep dive. If you search 32-hour work week on YouTube, you go to the Atlantic one, you'll find the other one. I don't have the channels pulled up because I didn't realize I was going to recommend those till just now. So happy hunting. All right, the film we're going to talk about tonight for the rest of the show for the next 15 minutes or so is the newest film by Sony Pictures Animation. This is on Netflix. You can check it out right now. The film is The Mitchells versus the Machines.
Every family has its challenges.
We haven't had a good family picture in years because you two are always arguing.
For my family, our greatest challenge... probably the robot apocalypse.
Attention all robots. Capture every single person on the planet.
Yeah! What would a functional family do?
Butterfly formation.
That is a little bit from the trailer for The Mitchells versus the Machines. As I said, this is the newest film by the studio Sony Pictures Animation, which is the same studio responsible for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is an excellent film. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as a studio, they are doing fairly well in the animation game lately, partially due to the oversight of Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who've done several films in directing and producing capacities for Sony, notably the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs films, of course, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, producing this film, which is directed by Michael Rianda. So this came out recently, and we just happened to click around and watch we'll do this. We'll watch, kids movies on streaming on the weekends sometimes, and sometimes we pick stuff that's just unremarkable, and we just I talk about it on the show because I saw it, and I feel obligated to tell people what I think about it. So I gave this movie 3.5 stars.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. Wow, I did that thing again where I start to give an opinion. I don't even tell people what it's about. It's basically about a family, the Mitchells. They're a self-diagnosed weird family who happens to take a road trip at the same time that an AI at a tech company, an Apple-esque tech company, has mobilized humanoid robots to capture and enslave the human race. And the Mitchells avoid capture, and so now it's up to them to save the world. And they're an incredibly dysfunctional family, but they somehow have to come together and, blah, blah, blah. What's unique about the movie is, I think, the animation style. Sony's done a good job of sort of going the other way from... How do you go the other way from more than one thing? You got Pixar, which is like this polished, clean animation style. You've got DreamWorks and Blue Sky that seem to be going just bonkers with their character design in ways that are strange. Like, just real quick, I hate the character design of the Despicable Me films. I hate it so much. I hate the proportions of the buildings. I just hate looking at something where I go, people don't live in those. What are you doing? So anyway, and then you've got other films that just have no design sense at all. There's just characters, and here we go. And so what I like about the Sony animated films thus far is that they have, at least the last two, Spider-Verse was extremely artistic, and this film does a similar thing with its animation where it really seems inspired by 2D. And you've got, blending of like 3D animation as well with the robots, and they kind of sort of blend them together once they encounter each other. But what I really like is that the jokes in this film are so quick, and I don't know, it's just one of those films that felt like you could make a bunch of horrible choices with it, and instead they just kept the pace tight. They kept the jokes quick, but not like linger on them. There's plenty of stuff that's in the background for you to notice if you feel like noticing it. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I didn't hate it, but I thought it was unremarkable. Like, it's better than some other original 3D animated films that have come out in recent years, like Storks or Smallfoot. It's better than those. And part of that is, you've kind of hit the nail on the head. Part of that is its artistic sensibility. It very much feels like directors made this and not just like
a studio.
We animated some things. It's like someone with a vision said, here's what we're going to do. Yeah. Like, we've got these 3D models, but we're going to kind of make them look painterly, or we're going to make them look like we've used markers or whatever. But, like, there are actually some parts where you can see, like, for lack of a better term, it's like they've put a filter over the character model that makes it look a little bit 2D or something. I don't know what they've done here, but it's unique, and it definitely looks unique. Ultimately, my thoughts were 2 things. One, this feels like the movie of a TV series that I haven't seen. It feels very much like in the vein of like the Wild Thornberrys movie or the Rugrats movie. And probably what my parents felt like watching that. Like, I haven't seen any of this. I don't know what any of this is happening. I just brought my son to the movies, and I don't understand what any of this is. Like, part of this feels a little bit like that. Like, this should be the, like, hey, it's time to go off to college. And it's like, well, I've seen 3 seasons where she's in high school.
She's in high school,
and I've gotten to know her, and so this kind of feels like weird. So that's one thing. I couldn't shake that feeling.
Sure.
And the main thing was there is nothing that this film offers me that a Goofy movie didn't already offer me. This is almost beat for beat a Goofy movie. I was talking about this with Kellen actually recently, and because he watched it too, and we were both struck by, like, dude, this is a Goofy movie. Down to the Rick Mitchell special where he's like, you got to go up the hill and across the stream and do all that stuff. And it's like, that's the perfect cast, bro. Like, this has been done before. And the whole idea is, I gotta take Maxie to college. That's not, I'm blending the two here, but like, that's the thought. is like, I gotta go on a road trip to reconnect with my wayward teenage child.
Sure.
And it feels very much like that. It's just, imagine if a Goofy movie, as perfect as that is, by the way, that's a 5-star film. As perfect as a Goofy movie is, imagine if they just decided halfway through, like, oh, also there's a end of the world Armageddon plot. Of course, Maxie. You know, like
robots are
it doesn't
taking
gel.
over the world.
It does not gel. And for me, that was one of the things, is like, this is a Goofy movie, but less focused. And it has, like, it's trying to say something about the way that we consume technology and the way that it's ingrained into our lives. But it's like, but that's kind of two different messages. It feels so unfocused to me to be like, hey, reconnect with family because family is important. Also, phones are evil, you know, or whatever they're trying to say. It just feels... I got it too. It just feels strange to me to, like, connect these two ideas together. And the only like connective tissue to it is that the dad is like, I don't like technology, you know,
when you said about the time phones are evil, that's when the thunder started. So you might want to cool it with those accusatory statements. I'll say this. I think that it was a temp title for this movie was Connected. It was Mitchell versus the Machines. And then they changed it to Connected. And then when Netflix secured the distribution rights, Netflix and Sony are both like, hey, this sucks, right? And they're like, yeah. And they changed the name back. I guess
that's really, like, bland,
heavy-handed, and stupid.
Yeah.
As far as kids fare goes, I would rate it above the Fray in terms of something that the family can enjoy. It's going to have enough quick, you know, goofy, stylistic things in it to keep children entertained. But I feel like there's the difference between this and a lot of other stuff out there is that there's something for adults too. There's a lot there for adults that are just normally not in other trash. I think for streaming, you know, this is a solid choice. I would have recommended people see this in theaters. Had I seen it in theaters, I would have recommended taking kids to it, and, you know, but yeah, I'd go 3.5 for me. What was your actual star rating?
3.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but and there's a couple of really solid laughs in here, and you know, there's a handful of moments where it's like, oh, that's cute, and, like, I can see, like, oh, sentimentality. Yeah, sure. Me being the robot I am, I'm like, you know, whatever. But I feel like it does what it tries to do, and it does it well. My problem is it's been done before. And I can't shake the feeling that this is just a Goofy movie. Sure. And then at the same time, despite its laughs and despite its clear directorial vision, I will say that these things that pop up over what's happening on screen that are like little animated, like, again, I'm going to use the word like filters, like pop-ups and these kind of things. They can sometimes be okay. But sometimes they overdid it, and sometimes it was a little annoying. My power just flickered.
Oh.
But yeah, I think that there's also a sense in which, and this is my last thing, there's also a sense in which I'm almost predisposed to be against animated films that rely too heavily on current modern pop culture or modern sensibilities, like like Facebook, or we're all on Instagram. Yeah, here's a Snapchat filter, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. This is not going to age well.
I just accepted that as I'm getting too old to resist things like this becoming part of children's films.
Sure.
The other day I picked up my daughter, and I was like, oh, how was school? And she was like, how was the extended day? And she was like, cool. Me and Rowan were looking at cat memes. I was like, what? Yeah. She's like, cat memes. I was like,
okay,
great. My daughter's 7. So, yeah, I feel like that's just the winds of change coming down the pike, and us old geezers are we're gonna, that's gonna it won't be a part of films that we enjoy to a large extent, but it'll be part of films that we can seminally enjoy.
I think that there's always been that in animated films anyway. Like to devil's advocate, my own point here. Like even if we look at a Goofy movie, like there's some. Maybe it's not necessarily related to tech, but there's definitely some of the time things. I mean, Powerline is a clear Michael Jackson ripoff, and there's 8-track tapes, and Max has PJ has a camera that he's shooting Max on, and like there's dated things in that too. I mean,
sure.
and there is. I think what stuck in my craw with this is there is a lot of it, but at the same time, I don't know that if I were in the position to rewrite the film that I would remove it, because it is very integral to what the character is. Like Katie is this age. And she's a filmmaker, so of course she's going to embrace a lot of the social aspects of of the internet, and I don't know. Anyway, I mean, whatever. I'm an old man, and whatever. So we'll see. But 3 stars.
I would say watch the Goofy movie first, and get the emotion that you can get, the maximum emotion you can get, that you can get from this sort of but then you could watch this after if you want a different take on that sort of concept and with less emotional involvement, maybe. I don't know. Goodness gracious, it's coming down. I would say so. All right, Dustin, that'll do us this week, I think.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, until next time, my friend.
Until next time.
Cheers to you and cheers to everybody listening.
Stay goofy.
I wasn't expecting that.